You know, when we think of Hanukkah, we usually think of the Festival of Lights, right? Candles, maybe some games, some gifts. But behind all that celebration is this absolutely dramatic story of rebellion, war, and a desperate fight for cultural survival. So today, we're going to dive deep into the real history that sparked this holiday.
Okay, so let's just jump right in with a question. What in the world does an ancient Greek king have to do with a Jewish holiday? It seems like a totally random connection, but the answer, believe it or not, is pretty much everything. He's kind of the villain and, in a weird way, the catalyst for the entire story.
All right, to get this, we've got to go back in time. We're in the 2nd century BCE, the land of Judea, which is the ancient homeland of the Jewish people. It's under the control of this huge Greek-Syrian empire, the Seleucids. And this setup is the perfect stage for a massive clash of worlds. You've got Greek culture versus Jewish tradition.
So what was the big deal? Well, at the heart of it, you had these two totally opposite ways of life bumping up against each other. On one side, you've got the Hellenistic culture. Think public gyms, worshiping gods like Zeus, and this really big push for everyone to kind of adopt the Greek lifestyle. And on the other side, deeply rooted Jewish traditions. Worship centered on one God in the Holy Temple, following the laws of the Torah, and this fierce, powerful sense of their own identity. Yeah, these two worlds were on a collision course for sure.
The guy who basically lights the fuse on this whole powder keg is King Antiochus IV. And he wasn't just happy to let Greek culture influence people. Oh no, he wanted to force it on them. He kicks off this really cruel campaign with just one goal: completely erase Jewish identity.
And he was not subtle about it at all. His new rules were a direct hit on the very heart of Jewish life. He outlawed the Sabbath, which is a cornerstone of the week. He made it a crime, punishable by death, just to own a holy book like the Torah. He desecrated the most sacred place, the temple in Jerusalem, and forced Jews to worship Greek gods. Look, this wasn't about blending cultures anymore. This was a full-on attempt to wipe out an entire way of life.
But the final straw? The one thing that was just completely intolerable? He put a statue of the Greek god Zeus right inside the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. For the Jewish people, this was the ultimate profanity. A line had been crossed, and there was absolutely no coming back from that. And, well, that's what did it. That singular act lit the fuse of rebellion. But the resistance, it didn't come from some powerful general or a big trained army. It came from a single family, an elderly priest named Mattathias and his 5 sons, who basically decided they would rather die fighting than give up their faith. And Mattathias's call to arms was just electric. "Whoever is zealous for the law and supports the covenant, let him follow me." I mean, that was the battle cry. It's what rallied the faithful and turned all that simmering anger into a full-blown revolt.
So after Mattathias passes away, leadership falls to his son Judah. This guy was so fierce, so effective as a warrior, that he earned the nickname Maccabee, which means the hammer. And that name, the hammer, it became so iconic that it ended up representing the entire rebellion.
Okay, so you're probably wondering, how on earth does a small group of rebels stand a chance against a massive, professional army? Simple. They fought smart. Instead of going head-to-head in open fields where they just get crushed, they used the rugged Judean hills to their advantage. They became masters of hit-and-run, guerrilla-style tactics, striking hard and fast before just vanishing. And crucially, they united the people, turning what started as a family uprising into a national movement for liberation.
And you know what? It actually worked. I mean, it's incredible to think about. But the Maccabean Revolt succeeded. Against all odds, this scrappy little band of rebels marched into Jerusalem and did exactly what they set out to do. They reclaimed the desecrated Holy Temple.
And get this, look how fast it all went down. The revolt kicks off in 1670 BCE, and in just 3 short years, by 1640 BCE, they had liberated the Holy City. It was an absolutely remarkable, improbable victory. A true David versus Goliath story. But the scene they walked into, it was a mess. The temple had been trashed, defiled with foreign idols. So as they started to clean and rededicate it, they needed to find the special, consecrated oil to light the menorah, the great candelabrum. And after searching everywhere, all they could find was one single, tiny vial. Just enough oil to last for 1 day.
And this is where the story gets that touch of the miraculous. They lit the menorah with that 1 day supply of oil, and it kept burning.
not just for one day, but for 8 full days, which was exactly how long they needed to prepare a new batch of pure consecrated oil. For them, this was a clear sign from God, a symbol that light had finally returned.
So you take this incredible story of war and faith and a little bit of miracle, and that's it. That's how this ancient victory becomes the modern festival we all know today. It created this powerful legacy of light that has lasted for thousands of years.
And it's right there in the name, you know? Hanukkah is the Hebrew word for dedication. It's talking directly about that moment, the rededication of the Holy Temple after they took it back, cleansed it, and made it sacred once again.
So when you boil it all down, Hanukkah is really about 3 huge things all rolled into one. It's about remembering that unbelievable military victory of the Maccabees. It's about celebrating the miracle of that little bit of oil that lasted 8 days. And on a much deeper level, it's a symbol for the universal fight for religious freedom, the right to believe what you want to believe without fear.
And that kind of brings us to a final thought, doesn't it? The traditions of Hanukkah are so deeply tied to this incredible story of resistance. It really makes you wonder what other modern rituals that we do today might be hiding their own ancient stories of defiance and survival. Something to think about. Anyway, thanks for diving into this story with us.